All right, so I wanted to make a video just talking a little bit more about Birdie's athletic club itself. So I was making quite a few videos, probably, I don't know, a month and a half ago, maybe it was even longer than that. But I've gotten super busy working on some simulator builds lately here. So I kind of wanted to make it a video kind of going a lot more deep into what the business of Birdie's Athletic Club actually is and what my hopes are that it's going to become, and kind of what my plans were from the beginning here. So for those of you who haven't seen, I guess, or who are new to the social media pages here, Birdie's Athletic Club is a 24-hour gym with golf simulators. So the simulators are 24-hour access as well. I've got 5 bays here, and then the facility as a whole is about 7,800 square feet. The gym takes up, I'm basically in shop bays here, so I've got 4 bays. They're each about 1,800 square feet. The gym, as far as like the actual lifting equipment, selectorized equipment, turf, all that stuff, takes up 2 bays. I've got the entrance bay, which is cardio, sauna, multiple bathrooms with showers, all that stuff. And then the simulator bay, like I said, it's got 4 simulators in it. I am running Garmin R50s, BenQ projectors, Carl Place and impact screens, all that stuff. So one of the really particular things about Birdie's Athletic Club is that it is a limited capacity facility. So what that means is basically I'm going to be capping memberships, and I'm doing that for a couple of different reasons. One is to prevent any kind of overcrowding. So I do want it to be a private facility. I don't want there to be an overabundance of people, or just members getting frustrated with not being able to use the equipment that they want, or anything like that. So the other really big factor in this is I don't want to have bookings or tee times for the simulators. So they are truly unlimited use sims, and the business was built out in a way that kept expenses incredibly low. So that is ultimately why I'm able to set a low capacity and kind of have those things happen and work out. So I did open up towards the end of February. We're about mid-July now. So one of the other things that I wanted to get into as far as the business and what the future plans are with the business is the simulator building side of things. So I had multiple very good friends and buddies kind of help me out with the build out process here. We did a majority of the fit up ourselves, aside from some of the things that we technically can't do. So electrical, plumbing, things of that nature. So, but one of the things that I kind of kept stating over and over again is I wanted to build the simulator room out as somewhat of a showroom. So, I dove deep into the simulator side of things, probably a year or two prior to actually getting the keys to the facility. So I have actually been working on, we've only been open for since the end of February. I got the keys to the facility last October. So we're getting close to a year on that date here, but I have actually been working on this idea for probably 3 years now. So one of the things that I encountered while I was preparing to build this facility, or planning, finances, things like that, because I do have a background in the independent fitness industry. I am co-owner of another facility here in Fargo-Moorhead, and then I've worked in various other independent gyms in the past as well. But one of the things that I kind of ran into that was really slowing down when I thought it was going to be possible to actually build this facility out is like I couldn't get really good information on how to build simulators. So, I couldn't find good videos. There's a couple here and there. There's some good channels out there, but nothing that goes into any kind of extreme detail on the subject. So that made things a little tricky as far as just not knowing what I was going to need to save up or what I was going to end up investing in the project. So once I figured out enough information to be somewhat confident in it, that is when I ultimately decided to move forward. But because I ran into that issue of not being able to find a lot of good information, a lot of good videos, not a lot of good instructional videos on the stuff, that is why I kind of realized that there is more than likely going to be a market out there for simulator building. Now, obviously there are plenty of simulator builders all throughout the country, but it kind of feels like it's a tough industry to get into because the information is just not really put out there. Again, you can find bits and pieces of it. You kind of catch glimpses or clips of other people's like build out videos or their transition videos or whatever, but I had a very strong feeling that I was going to end up wanting to build more simulators for other people, whether that's for their home or their business. So I wanted to set the simulator room up here at Birdie's to be somewhat of a showroom. So what I mean by that is, over time, I would like to get more launch monitors, different launch monitors, different PCs, different hitting strips, maybe some different turf, various different impact screens. And the reason I want to do that is because not a lot of people get the opportunity or have the ability to try a lot of this stuff out before building out their own simulator, or trying to build their own simulator, or hiring someone to do it. Even now, when I'm talking to people who are messaging me online and asking me questions about certain things, it's like, I haven't even had the opportunity to try out a lot of this different stuff, but now I'm getting the opportunity to try things through other people's builds. But that was the intent of the facility, was to double as a showroom and then ultimately lead to the sale of premium simulator builds. Now, me personally, I don't really have any desire to do prefabbed enclosures or a pop-up style of simulator. So I'm focusing more on the premium feel, higher quality design, as well as not just focusing on the sim itself. So the build that I have going on right now, I'm basically doing up an entire room. So it's not just a simulator. I'm doing all kinds of paneling, paint. I'm assisting with some of the lighting, things of that nature. So I do have a background in construction. I was a carpenter in the Guard for 9 years. I've got rental properties that I've renovated and flipped myself, done tons and tons of projects like that. So that's kind of where that background comes from. So as far as like the DIY, framing, flooring, painting, finish work, all that stuff, I do have experience in. But interestingly enough, I was put in a position where I needed to find a way to get the word out about Birdie's Athletic Club after I had opened, because I was very limited on funds. So I couldn't just pay for ads or pay to have high quality videos or anything like that done. So that kind of forced me into doing social media. And I would say a lot of people who know me on a personal level or who have known me for a long time are probably pretty surprised that I'm doing this, I guess. It's not something that it is something that I've wanted to do for a very long time, but that was more so with rental properties and personal finance, things of that nature. It's definitely something I wish I would have started a long time ago, because then I could have walked people through the process of basically starting from zero. You know what I mean? So buying your first property, which for me was a duplex that I lived in and rented. I lived in one unit and rented the bedrooms in that unit to friends and slept on the couch. And then, I lived in that unit for a year, and then I moved on to my next one, which is a twin home. And then I did the same thing a year later. So it's just basically it's a very long, slow, and sometimes boring process, but I won't get into it now. But because I did those things, it's potentially going to pay off very, very huge now with Birdie's. But I kind of am explaining that because I don't want people to think that this whole scenario just kind of came out of nowhere. There's a lot of things that I've learned over the last 12 or 13 years, and I'm implementing all of those things. Even when it comes to sales, right? My job that I'm still currently working, that I've been working for the last 4 years now, is a sales position. And I learned a lot about sales very, very quickly, and I kind of fell in love with it. So I knew if I opened up Birdie's Athletic Club, I wanted to have sales integrated somehow, and ultimately that's going to be simulators. Now, there's other stuff planned for the future, but that is where a very big part of the business is going to come from. So, and then we'll get into the franchising aspect later as well, but that is, again, simulator sales are going to be a part of that franchising aspect. Now, hopefully in the future we get into selling more merchandise. Club fittings would be fantastic, and we'll be set up very well to do so. But so basically what ended up happening is I felt like I was kind of more, not forced, but I didn't really have any other option aside from starting to post organic content and material in the gym. And then I was fortunate enough that a good buddy of mine, Jake, he reached out to me to do some work in his garage on a simulator. He had purchased one, basically a package, put it together, and didn't really like the final product so much. So he reached out to me and asked me if there was anything I could do to kind of fix it up a little bit or do something different in his garage. And it was the perfect timing, because I had just started filming content or trying to film content in the gym. And then I knew as soon as he had reached out that I was going to be able to start making videos of the simulator building process. And I found that doing that was incredibly more comfortable, a lot less awkward, because I felt like I somewhat knew what I was talking about, not necessarily about building simulators, but about carpentry. And just, being able to explain the different aspects of what I was doing to people and just kind of show as much as possible start to finish. And I'm not one to gatekeep information or have any kind of scarcity mindset. So it's not, to me, I'd much rather teach as many people as possible to build simulators. And that is also for a very specific reason. And I'll talk more on that a little bit later. But I started making videos for the simulator build, and I swear, I think I posted 2 clips, and by the second clip, I had somebody reach out to me that was local. And this is a complete stranger, not somebody that I knew or had ever met or talked to before. And he had messaged me on Instagram and asked me if I'd be interested in meeting up and talking about a plan that he had for a simulator on a new home that he was buying. And I told him absolutely. And that was my first opportunity to bring somebody into Birdie's and show them the work that I've done. And then just basically do a consultation, ask them what specifically they're looking for their space, kind of what their vision is, what they have in mind. And he ended up hiring me for the project. Now, he wasn't going to close on that house for a couple months, but in the meantime, I actually got a referral from him, and that would have been the last simulator build that people would see on my channel. So that would have been the cabin build that I just got done with. So he actually came as a referral from this first person I met, and now I'm building his simulator. While I was building the cabin simulator, still trying to post as much content as possible, I was able to get another build that's going to be happening after this one. And so I'm saying all this to basically make the point that if you have the ability, or if it's anything you're even remotely considering, making videos for your business or anything like that, I would strongly suggest that you do it, because it's, you'd be pretty shocked at how quick things can happen. But, and I'm not saying this is, some big, huge, crazy business that has exploded, but things are just happening a lot quicker than I intended them to. And to be honest, I thought that things were going to be very difficult with marketing because I ran out of money during the fit up. So, I didn't run out of money for the facility, but I had money set aside that I was going to use for marketing after I opened the business, but things ended up costing more, as they usually do. So, again, I was just kind of like, the only option that I had was to do organic material. And since I started doing the organic material, I have not changed my budget at all. That's not really by choice. I'm still just kind of getting caught up on things and, paying for different things or whatever, but that is about to change as of this month. So, which is very good timing, because I have just recently had another opportunity come up for Birdies. Now I don't want to say at the moment what that is, but there will be a lot of discussion about it. And if it is something that I decide to move forward on, it's going to be very fun. It's going to be very fun to take everybody through that process, and show what I'm doing start to finish on that. But ultimately, I wanted to make this video just to kind of get the information out there, what Birdie's Athletic Club is, why, if you're following the page, why you're seeing so much simulator building, because that is part of the business, right? I'm going to continue to grow that side of the business as much as I can. I want to get to a point where I can hire on a couple guys, and I've already got, there's a lot of people that I have in mind for that, but there's things that I'm trying to fix with a lot of sales processes that, it's not necessarily the sales process that has issues, it's the transition from the sale to, the product itself. And I'll go into more detail on that in a different video as well, but there's a lot of things happening all at once here, and fairly quickly. Not at a pace that's not able to be kept up with by any means. I'm not trying to make things seem like they're exploding or out of control, but things are going really, really well, specifically on the simulator building side. So, which is really helping raise awareness for Birdie's Athletic Club itself. But again, I set this place up ultimately as my kind of like my dream hangout spot. I got into golf about 4 years ago. I had tried it once in the past, didn't enjoy it, and then I had a good buddy take me out golfing again, and I kind of just fell in love with it. And this would be my fourth summer. The first 2 years I didn't, I wasn't very avid. Last year was the most time I spent doing it. Now this year, of course, I have not had a lot of time this season to get out much, but still practicing as much as I can at Birdies. But again, been working out and in the fitness industry for a very, very long time. Well, probably about 15 years or so, 15, 16 years. But I wanted to find a way to make golf more affordable, especially in an area where it's typically incredibly seasonal. So around here, our golf simulator facilities, a lot of them are like a kind of like a bar setting, where you go in, rent for an hour, 2 or 3 or whatever. You're showing up with other people, in most cases, food, drinks, stuff like that. But our average rate in Fargo-Moorhead is probably $45 an hour, and that it adds up very, very quick. And I think because that is probably the most common scenario for a lot of simulators, I do think this is changing, and I think it's changing very quick. But in general, the most common type of simulator facility you're going to find is it is kind of like a bar or restaurant setting. And the issue with that is I think people are, not everybody, but I don't think there's a lot of people out there, for the amount of golfers there are and how quick the sport is growing. I don't think people fully understand, not everybody, but maybe people who are newer to the sport, they don't fully understand the utility of simulators and how much of an impact they can have on your game and how quickly they can help you progress, because you're getting actual feedback, actual numbers, data, video, things showing you what you're doing wrong, instead of just aimlessly hitting a bucket of balls multiple times a week and just not really paying attention to what's happening. So I noticed that for myself, but I'm really trying to get a lot of people to understand how important simulators can be and how much they can really help your game. But that does you no good if you can't afford to use them on a consistent basis, nor if you have a facility where they're available on a consistent basis. So that being said, that is ultimately the point of Birdie's Athletic Club. And I paired it with a gym for a number of different reasons, but it felt like a good combination. Now, obviously, this isn't like a brand new idea by any means. There's other facilities out there that are similar to this. I do think Birdie's has a very, very unique style and feel. I wanted to make sure that the gym was a fully built, legitimate facility. So I didn't want you to pay a membership for this golf facility, but then also have to supplement a gym membership on top of that if you're somebody who takes training seriously. I mean, Birdie's has everything you need. It's got, we've got a full run of turf, all the accessories that you need, all the selectorized equipment. I have tons of cables, multiple squat racks, west side benches, dumbbells, Olympic platforms, specialty high quality barbells, full line of booty builder equipment, glute builder. I've got a lot of really good Rogue stuff, full Life Fitness selectorized equipment, everything that you need to, not only just improve on your fitness journey, but your golf game specifically. So that is basically a 1,000-foot overview of the business itself. So $100 a month is what I'm charging at the moment. That is gonna change. I mean, that was an introductory rate, but I've decided to keep it a little bit longer because I had a target number of members that I wanted to get to at that rate. So that'll change probably late summer, early fall. And I don't disclose what my cap is, because the cap it's not necessarily a fixed number of members. It's actually based on a total monthly gross that I'm going for now. And I say that, it sounds silly, but I bring that up because I have two different kinds of memberships here, right? Again, I wanted to build the gym out high quality enough to have the ability to sell gym only memberships. So I have a full access membership, and then I have a gym only membership. Gym only is $65 a month. I do offer up different payment options too for both memberships. So you can do weekly payments, bi-weekly, or monthly payments. But when I say, that capacity number is a little fluid, it's because if I, again, there's a target monthly gross that I'm going for. If I sell more gym only memberships, then I'm going to sell less full access memberships so that it's a better value for the people who have the full access membership. So in a perfect world, I'd love to sell a ton of gym memberships, so that I don't have to sell more full access memberships. Now, I do have a set number in mind for the full access that I won't go over, but then it's just going to be on me where if I hit that full access number, which isn't going to get me to my monthly gross. Now, if I hit that number, the business will be doing well profit-wise. But if I hit that cap number that I have in mind, I'm just going to have to sell more gym memberships if I want more monthly gross. So that's pretty much it. And ultimately on the full access memberships, the simulators are obviously the bottleneck. Now, the other reason I don't tell people specifically like how many members I have or what the capacity is going to be is because if you haven't worked in the fitness facility or worked in a gym, it's hard to kind of grasp what a lot of members is in a facility and what a crowded facility looks like. How many members can you fit in a 6,000 square foot gym before it feels way overcrowded? You know what I mean? How many members can you fit in a facility with 5 simulators before you start having issues getting on a sim every day? You know what I mean? So that is still somewhat to be determined. Again, I have a very good idea in mind of what that's going to be, and the reason I have that information again is because I've owned and operated gyms in the past. I currently co-own another gym in town, so I'm very familiar what 200 members looks like, what 300 members looks like, what 600 members looks like, and then with said square footage as well. So people don't understand, what, again, unless you've worked in a gym, but what does 500 members actually look like in a 24-hour facility that is 6,000 square feet? And I think a lot of people would be shocked. Now, my capacity is nowhere near that number, but I'm excited to try to get there and see how things actually look, how things feel. The best possible case scenario is I hit that number that I have in mind and there's plenty of capacity left. That would be fantastic because that means there is a lot of upside. And if I can get to my goal numbers, the business will be doing very, very well, which will ultimately help me scale a lot faster. And again, there's 3 or 4 different avenues that I'm trying to scale with the business. But I really want to take people along with the business so they can kind of see how I plan things out, where I'm trying to take things, why I'm doing certain things that I'm doing, how much are things costing. I will be going over a lot of information about Birdies and kind of what it took to open, what it's going to take, if I get the opportunity to expand myself, because I do want to have multiple of my own facilities, but if I end up going down the franchise route, which I'm almost certainly going to do, I do think there's actually multiple people coming up here in August to take a look at the facility who are interested, but things are developing really quick. Like when I had spoken to multiple different sets of people about the franchise, the simulator sales wasn't necessarily something I saw very soon, and now it's seeming as though it's a must. So, but anyways, that's pretty much it. I wanted to get some more information out because I know, I've got a lot more people following the page since I had been posting actually in the facility. So, wanted people to kind of catch up or understand what I'm trying to do and what I'm building and what I'm working on here. So, I think that's pretty much it for now. I'll be putting out clips from this video, and then the full video or monologue will be on YouTube as well. So if you're interested, you don't have to be interested in golf. You don't even have to really be interested in the gym. If you're an entrepreneur, I love real estate. That is ultimately another very big part of this business. So, and I'll go into how the real estate is structured for this as well. But if you're into any of that stuff, entrepreneurship, real estate, gym and fitness, golf for sure. Hopefully you enjoy the videos and the content and keep following along. And if you have questions on anything, please reach out. I get messages every single day. And one other thing that I want to mention too, this is for anybody thinking about like making videos or doing content or whatever. At some point in time, I'll make a video with all the screenshots and everything, but just to say thanks, I have just today, I've probably had 4 or 5 people send me DMs. I have no clue who they are. I've never met them, never spoke to them before, but just people saying thank you for the information that I'm putting out, specifically about the simulators. People are really, really enjoying that content, it seems like, and I don't know that I've had a single negative thing messaged to me or commented to me. You know, some people like will nitpick things here and there as far as like what I'm doing in my videos, what they would do differently, or why what I'm doing is wrong or whatever. And that's totally fair. But I haven't had a single person, you know, on the internet comment or message me or say anything bad. More importantly, not a single person in my personal life has said one bad thing to me. As a matter of fact, it's the complete opposite. Like everyone's been very, very supportive, very, I don't know, very excited, I guess. It's been really cool. It's been really refreshing. I mean, it's probably the hardest thing about starting to do this is people, you know, just obviously caring what other people think and what people are going to think about what you're doing and stuff. So, and that I could tell you with 100% certainty that has not been the case. It's been literally 100% positive. So, and I'm very, very appreciative of that because it makes this 10 times easier to stay motivated and kind of keep going with the social media stuff. Appreciate everybody who's been following along and watching the videos. Hopefully you're enjoying them. This is a brand new camera as well. That's the other reason why I wanted to make this video. I'm trying to learn it and get used to it. So let me know what you think about the video and if you're enjoying this type of video as well outside of the sim building. So hopefully start sharing a lot more about the business.